Welcome to All Indefinitely, interviews and insights to empower you to achieve personal and professional success through friendships, relationships, and marriage. Here are your hosts, Anwar and Cyana.
All right, we're here. We are recording live.
Nice.
Well, I guess we're not live. We're recording this message. But welcome, and
Yay.
I'm glad that we're here. We're glad to be working on this project together. I know that we're
Finally
collaborating for a long time on this, and glad to see it get started. And looking forward to great things. And all indefinitely.
Correct.
A new concept. Is it a new concept?
I hope so.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to get a lot of answers in this show and talk a little bit about all the relationships, evaluating all the relationships that we have in our lives, from our friends to our relationships and marriages, and how to use the best relationships, how to have the best relationships to then have the best possible experiences in life and find success in that sense.
That's right. Yeah.
It's kind of difficult because a lot of people define success in relationships differently.
Correct. Yes. We have to start by that.
Yeah. So I want to start by first introducing the topic and what we agree on, because I see you and I are probably the only people that I know that agrees with the way we view all friendships and really marriages and relationships the same way.
Yeah.
And that is that all relationships that you have are indefinite.
Correct.
They are only for an unspecified amount of time. It could be unlimited.
Yeah.
Or it could be for a specified amount of time. And I think that's different because a lot of people view friendships as forever and relationships as seem to go on a path that lasts forever, and definitely marriages. People feel that marriages should last forever. And we're here saying the opposite. We're here saying marriages don't last forever.
Yeah. We're telling most people that they've been wrong their whole lives.
So how did you come to that conclusion? I'll tell you how I came to that conclusion. But how did you come to the conclusion that the marriages or the relationships that you have are not forever? They're for an unspecified amount of time.
When I thought I found the one and then it didn't work out. And then I thought that I was at fault and it was me and I had something wrong or something I had to work on. And then I realized that there was nothing wrong. It's just the way it should be. I should love myself first and put myself first and then make sure that I grow. And with that, I can find somebody to grow with me. But if it doesn't happen, it's fine as well. I'm the one.
So you were married. It took being married for you to figure that out. You were married for...
It took getting a divorce for me to figure that out.
This is a very good statement, yeah. So you were married and you thought that you wanted to be married forever.
Correct.
And
I had found the one.
You found the one.
Yes.
And obviously you're not married to that person anymore.
Yes,
and therefore,
exactly.
So what happens? You go through this time period where you're just feeling guilty about life?
Yes, totally. Probably the last 6 months of our relationship was me thinking that I had something wrong and it was my fault why it wasn't working out and that I should stay there trying to make it work out. That was before I met you and you coached me.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Well, and I call it coaching, but it's kind of like I went through a similar situation too. And I was married for 5 years and I had an unbelievably great marriage. We had no problems. We didn't even fight. A lot of people say that's not healthy. If you don't fight, then you have to fight to be healthy. Did you hear that before?
Yeah, sometimes I do it.
Why is that? Why is that a good thing to fight to be healthy?
I think it's just to keep it entertained. If you don't fight, it's like the same thing every day. You need to find reasons to disagree.
So that I'm clear, you believe you have to fight someone to show that you're entertained by beating them up?
Your partner, not beating them up, just our arguments, like just disagree with the person. And then you agree, you make out, and that's perfect.
Make up.
Make out.
Yeah. No, make up. You make up.
You make up and make out.
Okay, there you go. Yes, fair enough.
There you go.
But no, I definitely don't agree with that. I don't think that you need to have a fighting.
With the make up, make out part, or
no? Well, that's
okay.
I understand what you're saying by that, but I don't agree that you need to fight to stay entertained. And I don't think the entertainment in your marriage should be, or your relationship should be, that hey, things are going so great.
Maybe because I'm Hispanic and we need to be feisty. So maybe that's the
You
reason.
know, I watch some of those.
Think about it.
I watch some of those shows, those telenovelas, as I'm trying to learn my Spanish, and I see the recurrent theme there.
There you go.
Yeah, it just has like this lasting effect on all of us, or what you're referring to. But no, I was married for 5 years. I had a great relationship, and there's a lot of like speculation why my marriage didn't work out. Some people say that I was cheating. Some people say she was cheating, because it was such a shock. You know, we were the example of people that, you know, you were the example of the people that should work out, but that's not the case. I was ready for children, and she had just graduated law school, and she decided that I guess, and this is all a guess from me, I would love to have her on the show one day. And we decided that we were just going to go our separate ways. And it just happened so quickly. I was completely crushed by this, by the way. But I saw that she wanted to go. It was her idea. Decided that she wanted to be over with our marriage. But the time after the marriage was the difficult part for me, because I started to reimagine how I wanted the rest of my life to go.
Yeah,
I spent all my life, you know, having everything planned out. I was going to be, you know, an entrepreneur. I was going to have children by a certain age. I was going to live in a foreign country for a year, all kind of things. But it didn't work out that way. And I think that the first thing I did was analyze other people. And I said to myself, if I'm going to say that I wasn't successfully married, or if anybody's going to say that, you know, we weren't successful in marriage, I want to find out what is success in marriage. So I started looking at other people to say, where can I find an example of a successful marriage? Have you done that before? Do you have examples of successful marriages?
I used to. Like, I had marriages that I wanted to, you know, have similar experiences, but not anymore.
Exactly. I mean, let me ask you about that, though, because I had the problem for me, because when I was going through what I was going through, I was looking at other marriages. I asked myself the simple question, can I find one marriage that I envied? And I could not find one marriage that I envied. It all seemed like it was something that was not right. And the people that are advising me, like my mother or friends and family members.
Your mom is a great person.
She's a wonderful person.
Yeah.
But she has a blind optimistic view of marriage and how it should be. And although she has never seen it happening the way she describes it, she always believes it's out there. And I think that's the same thing that a lot of us suffer from.
Do you think she blames herself for her divorce?
My mom?
Yes.
I don't think she blames herself. I think that she, in a lot of parts, saw a lot of red flags from my father.
Okay.
At a very young age, but she decided to stay with it because she was already invested.
Yeah.
And rather than cut things off, she kind of grew upon it and kind of told herself what she tells everybody else: you got to work at it. It's not perfect. You got to keep going. And I think after 3 children, she kind of just said, well, this is it's like a learned helplessness. She's kind of just stayed in it as long as she could. They ended up getting a divorce when I was 19 years old, and I was so happy that they did. I guess the police were being tired of calling out to our place, and it was a big ordeal where my dad was arguing it with my mom, and I'm sorry, guys. Our mics pick up the traffic right outside our windows. But he was arguing with my mom. He got arrested because he was being rowdy with the police officer.
Oh, God.
Not physical, but just rowdy. And he was told, and he was so appalled by the fact that he was being arrested that he never came back to the house.
Wow.
And it was actually great. His sister came in and said, you know what, that's it. Don't go back there because my mom is going to put him in jail. And he left and never came back. And I still talk to him every single day.
Yeah.
But they have been such great people divorced. They were so miserable being together. So
that's such a good lesson. And how do you feel nowadays, like after all these experiences, about working in a relationship?
That's a good question. I don't think that. So let me just answer the question like this. I realize now that all marriages are not going to be forever. They're only for an unspecified amount of time.
Right.
They're all indefinite. So how do I work in a marriage, or do I believe in working in a marriage? Absolutely, I do not believe that you should work hard in a marriage. It
Okay.
does not have to happen.
Define
that way.
hard.
I don't think that you should be feeling like you're being taken advantage of, that you're investing and you're not happy,
Yeah.
that you're losing years of your life and time where you're being unappreciated,
Right.
and you're sacrificing your career and your joy and your sense of adventure. That's a major sacrifice. I don't agree
Yeah.
that should happen.
Yeah.
I
Totally.
think that marriage is all about honest work.
Yeah.
It's all about honesty and setting up from the start that marriages likely will fail if we're going to say we're going to last forever.
Yes.
But they will be great if you say, I'm going to be married to you as long as there's joy, as long as I have growth and happiness. I try not to use the word happiness. I try to use the word, because it's a funny loaded word. I try to use the word as long as it's pleasurable and as long as there's personal growth.
Okay.
Yeah, I find those as better terms. Like if you're finding, and you don't need both of those things to have a successful
What
marriage.
do you think we need to have a successful marriage?
I think you just need one of those two things. You need to have you need to clearly state that there's personal growth, or you need to clearly state that this is a pleasurable marriage. Overall,
you don't need
very
both?
pleasurable. No, you don't need both. You just need one of those two. If you have both, if you have a marriage that you're personally growing from and you're seeking a pleasurable relationship, then that's great. But
Right.
you can be seeking growth in your career field that your husband has no idea in.
True.
But you go when you're away from that career field, and this is important. I give you this example because, like let's say for example, you want to become a doctor and you're working so hard to become a doctor and going to medical school. You don't want to come home and have the same conversations you've been having all day long,
Right.
and have the same constant issues arise again. You want to break from that reality.
Right.
So sometimes having a separate, even though you want to grow in your field of that's what you seek, personal growth, but maybe you seek personal growth in another field. That's fine. It's all up to you. But you're getting a pleasurable experience with someone else. That's all you need. But if you have both, that you're having a pleasurable relationship and you're seeking personal growth, I think that's amazing too. It's just shorter lived. I see.
Yeah.
I just think it's very limited.
I think it would be hard to live successfully with somebody who has your same ambition, because somebody needs to do certain things in the house, around the house, for example. And it reminds me of that relationship which you coached me to get out of, where the guy told me when I said that I would work during the weekdays while I was also working during the weekends. And he said, who's going to cook for me? And that
was your trigger point.
Yeah.
It triggered you.
Yeah. Like, okay, you can cook for yourself, or ask your mom to cook for you. I'm not going to stop my growth so that I can stay at home and cook for you.
Yeah.
And this I'm glad I understood now, but you helped me to understand that.
And I'm glad that you bring that up, because in all these relationships, people tend to feel like to be selfish is a bad thing.
Right.
That you should be more giving, and you should be able to cook for your man or do anything for him.
Yes.
And provide, and he will mutually provide for you and do things for you, and you work together. I don't think that that's the most optimal way of doing things, because people don't play by the rules.
Yeah.
And but if you took your own personal growth in your hands, then you'll never let yourself down, because at least you can try.
Exactly.
And so that was a real point that you brought up, when he says, wait a minute, you can't do something for your own growth. Who's going to do for me?
Exactly.
You have to be here doing for me. And the truth is, no, he has to find a way to live for him, and you have to find a way to live for you. I think that mostly, and this topic is going to be reoccurring for the rest of our podcast and continuously on. But, it really boils down to what is necessary. And,
right.
Is what you're doing necessary right now? And and is it good for you in what you're trying to accomplish?
Right.
And if it's holding you back, it's important for you to let it go. And if it's helping you out, it's encouraged upon you to push it harder, to make sure that your bond is tighter so that you can be better off. So, I mean, that was my awakening was the time spent after my divorce.
Yeah.
When I'm alone and I have nothing to do. And I had spent all of my time in my marriage pleasing my marriage.
Yeah.
And now I have to figure out what to do with my life. And not being able to find examples of somebody that's done it successfully and consistently. It led me to the awakening that marriage is not forever. Friendships are not forever. Relationships are not forever. They're all indefinite.
Yeah.
And they're here for us for a time. That time that you share with someone lasts forever.
Yeah.
But your time with that person does not last forever.
Exactly.
So that was my awakening, and I really wanted to share that with you and to the audience, because I want the understanding to be that taking a hard look at the real relationships that you have, the ones that you have, the people that you have around you. There are people that are overwhelmingly good for you.
Right.
That you should spend more time with, that you should grow more from, that you should learn more from. And there's a lot of people that you need to cut from your life.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. No. That's important for both people.
Yeah. I think that when you understand that none of those relationships last forever, is when, at least this is what my awakening, it was when I understood that I was my one. D1, it was myself, because they won't be here or around me forever, and that's okay. So I will have to work on myself, and that's the only person I'm gonna have forever,
Right.
And so I think that's really important. And we actually have a question from one of our friends, because this is our first episode, but I wanted to share it with you. And I would like for us to discuss it. Yeah, I'll read it. So this is a recently retired attorney who worked in a very good government position. He had a daughter from
we could just read the question.
Previous marriage.
You want to just read it verbatim?
And he's now on his third marriage. And it seems like his story, at least that's what he thinks, it's repeating itself, meaning that he's been having the same issues in all three of his marriages, and which is, can we say it like that, sexless marriage?
Yeah, that's a very definitive statement. Yes.
Yeah, it says it all. So our friend says, I don't want to make the same mistake, but I have not had any sex in over 2 years. Can we make exclamations now, or we read the whole thing and then we talk?
No, you can read the whole thing. Yeah.
In the past, the sexless marriage forced me to seek sexual relations outside my marriage, which ultimately led to divorce. My wife and I share a loving and supportive relationship, but we sleep in separate rooms and act more as roommates. However, although we act like roommates, I am expected to stay true to marital vows and remain committed and monogamous. I have tried everything possible to ignite the romance, but to no avail. Friends of mine that have been married for many years seem to all have similar issues, meaning very little sex or a sexless marriage. What can be done about my sexless marriage?
Yeah, and I spoke with him about that, and I told him that I would talk about this question.
I love the concept, though.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the concept. This is something that's not new, by the way. A lot of people have had this. I remember when I was married. Obviously the sex life in the beginning was very, very good, but just like every single sex life, it just tapers off and it goes less and less and less. Now, what is your opinion about that? Like, if people have been married for a very long time, do you think that what's happening there?
Well, I've never been in, I don't know how long he's been married for, because he didn't say that. But my longest relationship was actually my marriage, and it was 5 years. Towards the end, I didn't really feel like having sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought I had a problem with that. Like I thought I was sick or something, And I always thought that given the time, I would just talk to my partner and say, hey, listen, like we're not having the same, passion, or the sex is not the same. Let's try something different, which apparently he has somehow, because he said that he tried everything that he could. So yeah, basically that's what I would do. I would not only try everything possible myself, but also try to see what's my partner seeking or what would help the sexual life.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack with dealing with this question, because it deals with several assumptions.
Right.
So the assumption number one that Daryl is assuming that you're supposed to be married forever.
Yeah, you're supposed to stay there.
The first thing that you have to understand is that marriages most likely do not last forever. They are a product. If you look at marriage over time, there were times in history where you can marry more than one wife. There was times in history where you couldn't be married at all. There was times in history that you married to one person for the rest of your life. It's always, if you look back in history, it's whatever is necessary for the time.
Right.
In this time, women don't need men. Men don't need women for survival. We do need each other as companionship and all these other things, and children and all these great things that we'll talk about. But we don't need each other to survive. I mean, think about this. 150 years ago, women couldn't work, vote, get educated, do anything.
Exactly.
Today, you can do all of that.
Yeah.
So at that time, I can see you being married to one person for the rest of your life, because what are you going to do without that?
Right.
In this time, you can do anything you want. So the whole notion has to change.
Right.
So number one, Daryl's issue is that his assumption is that he has to be married forever.
Yeah.
Then if you have to look at marriage, what is marriage? Okay. Marriage, number one, is a public acknowledgement. Mm-hmm. Someone knows that that's your person, that's your spouse, that's somebody that you are committed to.
Right.
Number two, there has to be sex. Number three, there has to be intimacy. I should have said it the other way around. It should be intimacy second, because intimacy is about sharing secrets.
Right.
And, of course, sex. And then number four is the same shared belief. So we have public acknowledgement. We have intimacy, sharing secrets. We have sex, and then we have the same shared belief. Remember, some people can say, we're married and you have to cook every day. But some people say, not because I'm married, we have to.
Correct.
So you have to share the same belief, whatever those beliefs are.
Right.
If it's religious, if it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay? So we have this part right here that Daryl's going through, and for the third time. And in the previous relationships, he sought sexual relations outside of his marriage, which led to divorce, and he doesn't want to have that same problem happening again. And now his wife they're living together, but they live in two separate rooms. Like she has her own room, he has his own room, which it's common actually.
Is it?
It's not uncommon. I wouldn't say it's common, but I would say it's not uncommon.
Okay.
And
how much intimacy do you think you can have with somebody who doesn't sleep in your room?
Oh my God, you have a tremendous amount of intimacy.
Really?
Tremendous amount. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think I talk the most when I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean that's true, because that's when you're laying down with your thoughts. But when really and truly, if something's bothering you, if something's on your mind, it becomes part of all of your conversations. Kind of feel like wherever you're at dinner, or if you're laying on the couch, or if you're going for a walk, it's whatever you're doing. It's that current activity. You can do that with friends. I mean, think about it. Think about when you were growing up as friends, when you had in grade school. I mean, your girlfriends that you had, they would know. Every boy you kissed, they would know any test that you were struggling with. They would know all your intimacies, and you didn't lay down next to them.
True.
So you can be very, very intimate with a lot of people without anything else. So I just want to of the four elements that I talked about, these are elements in marriage, which is public acknowledgement, intimacy, sex, and shared belief. They are all subject to change. None of them are guaranteed always. So now Daryl's asking this question, what to do about my sexless marriage? The difference here, what Daryl needs to understand is that he's missing one of the elements of being married, what I would call a marriage. And of course, marriage is all up to interpretation, it seems. Some people think it's because you have to have a license to call yourself married. I disagree with that. License is just a license. And we can talk more about that later on. But you're with somebody, you're that's your spouse or that's your boyfriend, that's whatever it is, that's your person that you're with. That's your person. And that just means that if you get to a point that is in a sexless marriage, I'm sorry to say, you've achieved divorce.
Right.
You're not in a marriage anymore. You've gotten all the good out of that. Now you need to separate and say, okay, now we can lose the title because we're no longer married, but let's just stay friends.
So going back to the work in marriage, do you think they should work for a better sex or for sex? Trying to have sex?
No,
or that's what you would consider part of working on your marriage?
It's all it's all up to the individual. I can't really tell anyone how to live their life, but I can let them ask the question in their mind, is it worth it or not? And if you're in a marriage and your husband is expected to get sex nowhere else, only with you, and you cut off that ability, what is he supposed to do? Is he supposed to, is all the pressure supposed to go to him and say?
Well, it all depends because we only have one version here. It would be good to hear our friend's wife's version and see how she feels about it, because maybe she doesn't feel that he's done everything possible like he thinks.
But you just said that. You just said that in your previous marriage. You said that after
but he
5
felt
years,
differently.
Well, let's just ask you. After 5 years, you were no longer having sexual compatibility, I want to say.
Right. That's good.
And was it his fault?
I think it was both our fault. I don't know.
Or no fault at all?
Maybe, yeah.
So that's the kind of question. It's a hard answer, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't think about it that way. I know that men get a lot of the blame for this because it's either they're doing something wrong or they're not getting enough roses or trying new things. But really and truly, it's kind of a cycle, it seems.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say it's both. Like, it's a partnership. So it's both of their fault. I would ask whether she would like to have sex with other people or not, or she just doesn't want to have sex at all. Like, that's why I would like to have both sides.
The thing is I've had that conversation with the previous ex of mine, and where I had a similar issue to what's going through right now, and I'm sorry, there was a little background noise here because of our mics, and I'm gonna try to adjust the gain to make sure that I don't pick up enough background noise. But I was just trying to in my previous relationships where I was going through the same problem like this. I was always said that is it my fault? Is it something that I'm doing wrong? And if I'm doing something wrong, what do I do right? Like, how do I fix this whole scenario? And all of this is on my mind. And the person that I was with says that whenever, and she's a healthy woman, but she was like, whenever I'm not engaged sexually, I don't think about it. Doesn't come up as much. It's not as big of a deal as it is for me as it is for you. So I think that our biology is different in that sense.
Yeah, maybe.
And so the expectations with the roles are always conflicted.
We should have an expert to come in and talk to us about it.
As our podcast grows, we'll definitely bring some people by because we want to get a lot of answers to these questions.
Yeah.
But I know from talking to a lot of friends, and this is a reoccurring theme all the time. People constantly talk about the fact that their sex lives taper off and what is going wrong with that.
Right.
And men are very, very kind of motivated to find a new partner. Right. And if something like men will walk down the street and see another attractive woman and when men see attractive women, they're, in my opinion, I think I'm right about this, but it's like they see their attractiveness based on how likely they would have sex with that person.
Oh,
it's
really?
Like, she's a 10.
So it's not physical.
That is the physical part of it. That's
thinking that you have options to have sex with a person?
Not the options. You're just using your imagination. You said, "Would you?" Like, would I?
Oh,
like,
okay.
There's no
right.
guy that's looking at a woman that he calls a perfect 10. Like, that's a perfect 10, and then he's not thinking anything sexual. That's just,
No,
it's very difficult to find. I mean, no, I'm not saying that everyone's like that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like that's the majority of the people that I speak to.
Yeah, you are like that.
Maybe.
All right. So summing up, because I wanted to say this, I love this part. You mentioned the elements of a marriage, and in law, elements are what's necessary, what must be in a lawsuit, what must be proven for that to happen, to be real.
Right.
So the elements of a marriage would be public acknowledgement,
Right.
intimacy,
Right.
sex,
Right.
and
The same shared belief.
okay.
If you're missing any one of those, then you have achieved divorce. And I want to say that you've achieved divorce because divorce is an achievement. And I know we
got to talk about divorce.
We're going to talk more about that. But
Yeah.
it is something to say you gave it all to somebody and they've given you their all, and it's best time to move on.
Exactly.
And my friend Daryl, I mean, if you're listening, your time has come to move on, and that is not a bad thing. And just because you're fresh into retirement, that is not a bad thing. You're ready to move on. And
right.
And there we go.
You have a friendship.
Yeah, you have a friendship. Keep your friendship going. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. And I want to thank our sponsors, American Worldwide Academy. If you're looking to get a high school diploma or career training certificate, you can do that by visiting careerhighschool.com. And stay tuned. Stay tuned for more. We're going to give you guys more content.
Yes.
Valuable content.
Bye.
You've been listening to All Indefinitely. Help us spread the word by subscribing and sharing the show.